this video, we're gonna continue to talk about FLUIDRAY and importing assets inside this rendering engine, inside this software, which can then help us to create really fast, simple, extremely simple renderings for our interiors and exteriors. So in this video, we're gonna concentrate more in the architectural side of the usage of FLUIDRAY. So we're gonna try to import architectural models, interiors, exteriors, and also file from BIM and CAD, so Revit or Archicad or Autocad. Now, if you go in the website here, FLUIDRAY, you can get into the help page, and right here you will find again some description of the various most important navigation keys with the mouse. You can also hold the tab of the mouse to reduce the navigation speed. So this is another one that can be useful for navigation. And then we have the list of all the tools in the toolbar explained with text, but we're gonna see all of those in practice later. Now, if we go down in this page, we will find scenes from SketchUp. So you can see this is an interior scene with SketchUp. So you can also try to use these resources, these files that you can find directly in the FLUIDRAY website. So just click download, save it. You're gonna save it as a zipped folder, so it's gonna be compressed. You need to extract the files that are inside, and you can see here this is another really simple scene that you can try to use. And so I'm gonna just save this one also. This is just like industrial design, representing one single object, table with some chairs and also a light placed on top of it. Now, in the previous video, we didn't work with lights. We didn't see any light. So in this other video, we're gonna see something. You can see that when you save these examples, they will have also the FLUIDRAY file, not only the SketchUp in this case, but also the FLUIDRAY. And if you continue, we can see here some scenes also in Rhino, which is a CAD and CAM application to create industrial design, but also architectural design and interior design, automotive design. So Rhino, you can create a lot of different soft modeling with Rhino. And then we have files from Autocad 3D. Yeah, again, this is Rhinoceros. This is all about CAD and BIM, building information modeling. So BIM is the evolution of the CAD software. So here you can also manage the architectural project. You can create 2Ds, 3Ds, and so on. And you can use Revit or Archicad to do this BIM. So these models in building information modeling technology. And we're gonna see how we can use those. Now, if we have a FLUIDRAY file, all we need to do is go to open. We don't need to import in this case. So when you use examples, you can just open the FLUIDRAY file. This is the best option for you, of course, but you won't find many FLUIDRAY files out there. They are not really popular, so you can find it here in the examples from the FLUIDRAY website. So I'm gonna open up the table scene because this is gonna be really fast. And there you go. So you can see we have a really simple scene here, which consists on just these chairs and table and one light there floating on the table. And we have only a pavement and also an environment map around that is going to give us some reflections and some night scene lighting. So, well, you can see that that's the light right there, but it's just a cylinder. Now, to create a light in FLUIDRAY is really the most simple thing you can do. It's the simplest in if you compare it in many other render engine. Well, all you need to do here is just go in the materials, find the emissive materials in the emission category, just drag it and drop it onto that object. So in fact, any object can become a light in FLUIDRAY. And then we can increase the emission intensity there or in the emission power on the right panel. So we will come back in talking about materials and how we can adjust them and also how to create lights. But in this video, we're going to focus on importing again. We're going to stay in the import topic for these starting videos. So again, I can open up the project directly if it's a FLUIDRAY project. Otherwise, I always need to import. So this is the interior right here, and I cannot see importing files if I am in the open. You need to go to File, Import if you want to see which formats you can import, which files you can import. So if you go here, you can see that I can import this interior example. If I right click and go to properties, I can see that this is going to be an OBJ. Now, this is another really popular format. The most popular formats out there are OBJ and FBX. And so you should try with both. When you want to import in FLUIDRAY, you are coming from, let's say, SketchUp or Rhino or Cinema 4D or Maya or whatever. Try first with these two. So this is the OBJ. We're also gonna see the FBX. Now, sometimes OBJ works better, but most of the time FBX works better than OBJ. But you need to test. You need to import and see what's going to happen. Now, if I get inside this scene, this is an architecture, a really small house, a really small architecture example. I need to find a way here to get in. Now, one thing also you should export from your application is the camera or many cameras. If you export the cameras, you don't need to navigate around your scene to find out where the correct spot for your rendering is. You just select the camera from the camera tab and that's it. So try to export your scene with the camera included. But we're gonna make some more examples later. We're gonna see some more examples about exporting and importing. Now in this case, we want to focus on the geometry, on the model, and on more complex scenes. So these are really complex scenes because they have furnishing, they have furniture, interior. You can see there you have some sofas. Now, if I click and drag an emissive material on that statue there, that statue is going to become a lamp and it's gonna begin to illuminate my scene, to lighten up my scene. So also again, I can increase the emission power. Now be careful not to go too high with the emission power, otherwise everything is gonna get total white and you won't see anything. Now this is all artificial intelligence here. It's all AI and it's gonna help you to to create really beautiful rendering really fast here in FLUIDRAY. So this is why FLUIDRAY is probably the simplest renderer out there. So here I'm going to save this project, and when you save it, it's going to be saved in FLUIDRAY file. So that's the format there for the FLUIDRAY. So it's going to be FRP. So FLUIDRAY project, perhaps. And then I can reopen it in a second time. Now I'm going to continue with the import, and I want to show you some Revit files. So this is going to be even more complex. So we are increasingly stepping up. We are increasing the level of difficulty. So when you use Revit or Archicad or a BIM application, or BIM or building information modeling, well, you need again to use these two formats, FBX or OBJ. Now in Revit, we can only export with FBX if we want to export the 3D at the moment, and not every time is gonna be a nice export. Now make sure that you define the materials when you are exporting. And here also, if we go in the import section, when we import, we can see all the different files that we can import. So FBX, or we can import 3DM from Rhino, we can import SketchUp, OBJ like from Maya or Blender or Cinema 4D, and then we have Collada file, Autocad, so this means 3D files with Autocad, and then we have 3D Studio, Max, and These are the most popular, by the way, the most popular software, and you will find the video courses in the channel if you look for them. If you don't find them, you can write in the comments, you can ask for assistance. We have all the video courses you need in any 3D software out there. So Blender, it's an open source software, and then we have STL for printing, and again, Cinema 4D, 3ds Max. So if you have those programs, you don't need to bother to export. You can just import in the original format. Otherwise, you need to export in OBJ or FBX. You saw there we don't have a Revit file or an Archicad file, so we need to export in another format. We need to do more passages. Things get more complex. And you can see this is a topo surface in Revit. It's a terrain, and inside is really huge terrain. I have this small project right here, but the issue here, the main issue, is that everything has the same material, everything has the same color, so it's really difficult to spot all the different surfaces. Now I know there are different surfaces out there, so if I take a material here, let's say I want to add some asphalt, or actually let's start with some grass. Okay, then I'm gonna apply to the terrain around. You can see there, that's the terrain, so it's an entire surface, and then I can continue here to drag and drop materials, and then all the parts of this project are gonna be visible. So it's a long process, so you need to go there, click and drag. It's pretty fast, but there are a lot of objects here, a lot of surfaces, so this is gonna be a longer process than having a really simple scene. So you can see there I can go by categories, I can go to roofing tiles, add some tiles to the roof, or I can go to pavement tiles, I can add glosses. Now the problem here is that I have a lot of panels divided, so I don't have one single glass. I have a lot of panels because this is how Revit works, this is how building information modeling works. Everything is a single entity, so everything is divided. These are actually called families and types. So well, it's pretty difficult to, you can hold control and select more surfaces, and then you can right click and on the material and say assign to selection. So this is going to be faster because you all need to do is to select an entire area and then assign to selection. But you need to do that for everything. Now if you hold shift and click, you can also see there are so many options when you select things. So shift click and you have more possibilities. You can like group, or you can select everything by the same material. But here you can see there is only one material, so this is really difficult right here. It is difficult to manage a complex scene in FLUIDRAY because again, FLUIDRAY is pretty basic. It's really fast and simple, but it's also basic. So you cannot do complex management of your architectural scene here. You need to use some other software, or you need to make sure that when you export everything, it's already fine. So you just come here, insert materials, insert the lights, insert the environment, run the rendering, and that's it. So you need to make sure your scene is perfect. Now, if this doesn't happen, you need to do an extra step in another 3D software. So between, let's say, building information modeling, architectural models from BIM, and the rendering in FLUIDRAY, you need to have a middle step, a middle passage. You need to go through a 3D software. So again, if you shift click, you can see that you have many options. You can also see the name of that family there, the name of that object, but there is not pretty much else you can do at the moment. So in FLUIDRAY, at least. So right here I am in Blender. You can download and install Blender totally for free. It's an open source software. You will find in the channel a video course entirely dedicated to Blender and how to manage geometries, how you can create materials, how you can do basically everything in Blender. So if you're interested, just give it a look. Now I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration here. You can see I have applied some material which is really visible. It's a blue color there and a purple color. And let's say that I want to differentiate, I want to create different materials for various parts of my scene, well, I can do that in Blender. I can do that in Cinema 4D. I can do that in Maya. I can do that in 3ds Max. And before getting into FLUIDRAY, is probably the best that I do it. And then I don't need to export it technically. I can just open in Blender format or in 3ds Max format or in Cinema 4D format. Now, what I'm trying to do here is just to apply the material here. So I can find this in the list. You can see every object is listed here in the outliner, so it's easier to find it, it's easier to select it, to manage it. And if I search for all the pillars in the scene, I can now select pillar by pillar, or I can select all the pillars. So this is easier again to manage, to assign materials and everything. So right now I'm just gonna assign here a quick material. I'm not gonna spend too much time in Blender. This is not the Blender video course, but you can go in the channel again and check all the video course in Blender or all the part concerning the material. And if you want, you can also ask for assistance, write your comments, questions, also suggestions for other users. And so I applied here a material for that pillars just to show you. And another thing you can do here, you can perhaps delete parts that you don't need in the render. Otherwise, it's gonna become a heavy render without any reason. So get rid of everything you don't really need and only keep the things that you need, and then you can export. Again, you can just save in Blender actually if you want, but we're gonna do that example in another lesson. I'm gonna focus on the FBX here. So I'm gonna save here in FBX, decide if I want to save only the selected objects, only the visible objects. What I want to save, cameras, lamps, other things, animation if I want. I can save animation with the FBX. So again, we're gonna do more example later. We're gonna focus here on the geometry and all on these basic materials just to see if we can solve the issue that we had before with the Revit file. So I'm gonna export everything, give a name, select a folder, and that's it. So actually I'm gonna create a folder here when I want to store all my tests. So I'm gonna right click, create a folder directly here in Blender and name it import. And even if you don't know Blender, you can do these examples. It's really simple, so you can just download, install, and follow this really simple instruction to import and then export. So all you need to do is import in Blender and export in Revit, the FBX file. So let's now import the new model, the Revit model, the BIM model, but that went through Blender, and let's see what's the difference. Let's open it up. Okay, now let's navigate a little bit. We can see already the materials there. So now it's simpler to work in FLUIDRAY. And there is also some emissive material there in the inside that is like lining up everything. So I need to understand where it is, and I need to turn that off. Otherwise, it's gonna look like a lamp. We don't want that to happen, perhaps. But you can do beautiful like night scene renderings. So now I can go there and shift click and select all by the same material, and then I can select the material, and instead of dragging and dropping, which is going to apply only on that surface, I can apply to everything. So again, I will select one, shift click, select all by the same materials, and then click and right click and assign to selection. So this is going to assign that FLUIDRAY material to the selection. So that's going to be way more faster and easier to manage a Revit scene. Now this is the exterior file from the resources again, and just to give you an idea of how it's going to look like also here in FLUIDRAY. So you can use these resource files just to get started. If you don't have anything you want to test, do some tests, and you want to exercise with navigation, basic commands that we are seeing, you can just get the resources and use those just to see, to have something fast to use. And so later we're gonna see again how we can apply materials, how we can manage materials, but also other elements of the scene. So this is gonna be it for this video lesson. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel, because we're gonna publish more videos and also more courses about FLUIDRAY and also similar software. And please support us by joining the channel as a supporter. Again, if you want to type questions, you can do it in the comments, also suggestions for other users. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.